together this morning for the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, July 14th, 2015. To all of my colleagues, it's good to see each and every one after having such a vibrant 4th of July Independence Day in our great nation. I do now hereby call this meeting to order. I'm calling the Reverend Juan Sanchez from First Assembly of God to please come before us and lead us in our invocation. We will all stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Commissioner Leibel.
Dear Heavenly Father, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, we come before you. Let us approach your throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find your grace to help us in our time of need. Let your ear be attentive and your eyes open to hear the prayer of your servants that they pray before you in this day. I confess my sins, my family's sin, and the sin of the city that we live in. We all have sinned against you. But we know that you are merciful, faithful. You are a forgiving Lord who loves your children and the children of your children who fear your name. Thank you, Lord, for the honor and privilege that you are giving me today to present this man and woman you have placed in authority. Let the power of your love, your justice, and your righteousness rule their heart in everything they do. Let your wisdom be the main source of action so they can continue to operate correctly and to follow the best based on knowledge, understanding, and fear thy word. Give your servants success today by granting them favor and grace in your presence. Now may the God of peace, who through the blood of the eternal covenant brought back from the dead of our Lord Jesus, that great shepherd of the sheep, equip you with everything good for doing his will, and may he work in us what is pleasing to him through Jesus Christ, to whom be the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Sanchez.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Commissioners, each of you should have received copies of the minutes for approval on the June 23rd, 2015 regular meeting.
Approval. Second.
Proper motion and second that the minutes be approved as presented. Further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none. Thank you again. We do recognize our clerk of court who is usually with us, and thank you again for your leadership. We have, I think, also our tax collector here. I saw her earlier. Yes, thank you so very much, Ms. Myers, Honorable Myers, for being with us. We also have a few other special guests I would like to introduce. Palatka''s new city manager is with us. And if you'll just come forward, we'd certainly like to give you a welcome on behalf of Putnam County. There you've been a neighbor as a former city manager or town manager in Keystone, and now that you're here in Palatka and you're transitioning into the county seat of Putnam, we certainly want to embrace that. And on behalf of all of the county commissioners and county administration, we welcome you and we embrace your presence here and look forward to some great things together. Please have some remarks.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Flagg and Board of County Commissioners and Mr. Leary, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this morning. It's absolutely my pleasure and honor to be a part of the city of Palatka as well as Putnam County family. You're right, we cut our teeth in the city management business just up the road from here in Keystone Heights. Also spent 14 years over in Lawrenceville County, where I garnered quite a bit of experience in different departments. And just looking forward to the opportunity to serve the great citizens of Putnam County and the city of Palatka. You know, we got some great staff here. We've also got some hurdles we need to get over and get beyond, but I think we got the folks in place to do that. Got a great city commission. Mayor Hill has been taking his time out of his busy schedule to show me around, and I'm sure Ms. Austin Brown will do the same for me. We're holding some good one-on-one meetings and trying to get a vision for the city, trying to go ahead and get a mission put in place, and I think we're headed in the right direction. Again, it's just my pleasure to be here today in front of you good folks. Looking forward to building some great relationships, not only with you folks, but also with the other constitutional officers, the tax collector, the property appraiser, the clerk of the court. I'm looking forward to working closely with Mr. Leary on some projects. So I think this is a great opportunity not only for myself, but for the city of Palatka as well as Putnam County. I think it's we're ripe for some good things to happen here, and I love the riverfront. I love what we're doing down at the riverfront. So again, to keep it short, it's a pleasure to be here. Love being part of the Putnam family. So anytime you folks need anything, please don't hesitate to call our office. I got an open door policy. Just walk on in. I'd love to sit down and chat with any of you at any time about any issues that we may need to address together. So it's my pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, Mr. Suggs. And again, obviously, Palatka and Putnam County have many agreements of cooperation over the years. And at some point in time, we're going to be, doing an overview of all of those things so that all of us can become more effective and efficient in what we do. And we look forward to, again, a strong relationship, an enhanced relationship in the days and years to come. I'm
looking forward to that as well. And I just want to piggyback one more thing on that, if I could take just another minute, is being in the area, and fortunate enough to, my wife has grew up in the area, for the last 35, 40 years. What I've seen since I've been here with the Blue Crab Festival and the 4th of July celebration, this is an opportunity. We have some great things already in place that's going to bring both these communities together. There must have been 15,000 people at the 4th of July fireworks display. Sure. And when you have something like that, and with Palatka being the county seat, I can't imagine anything but great things and great relationships out of my staff as well as your staff. Sure. So thank you very much.
We all have our challenges, but we've got to rise up to those challenges.
Yes, we do. Thank you, sir.
Any other comments?
Just welcome aboard.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Suggs.
Okay.
Folks, have a good day.
And thank you for coming by. Appreciate you. Also, just before we move to Employee of the Quarter, I'd like to introduce another state representative that is here, Mr. John Bixler. I saw him earlier. Will you come forward? He is the administrator for the Florida Department of Health Emergency Medical Services, and it's just an honor for you to make the trip from Tallahassee, and it must be some special things on your mind coming down. Mr. Bixler has been a Florida paramedic for over 39 years. He's also a registered nurse and has worked as a paramedic, a flight nurse, paramedic, ICU nurse, infection control practitioner, and serves as the chair of the Traffic Records Coordinating Committee for the Florida Department of Transportation, and numerous other things that he brings to the table, working with the Florida Strategic Highway Safety Plan. And it's just so amazing the things that you've accomplished over your career. And so thank you for coming, and please greet us and tell us what's on your mind this morning.
Thank you, sir, and commissioners, administrators, and staff. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the invitation to be here this morning. It's my pleasure, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you. Each year in July, the Florida Department of Health Emergency Medical Services section awards Excellence in Emergency Medical Service Awards. Nominations are received for approximately 3 months from all over the state of Florida. One of the more special awards that we present is our Friend to EMS Award. This award is special because it's given to an individual that doesn't work directly for emergency medical services, but has enhanced emergency medical services through support and promotion of EMS activities. This year's recipient has made countless contributions over the last 15 years to Putnam County EMS. His previous experience as the county administrator for Onslow County, North Carolina, has made him instrumental in guiding and advising EMS. In regards to Putnam County EMS, this recipient is very outspoken in ensuring the agency receives a minimum of at least one fully equipped EMS ambulance per year, in spite of what we all recognize as very tough times. He has aided Putnam County EMS in obtaining a new headquarters building and a fully functional emergency operations center, which I had the privilege of attending when y'all opened it up. Very nice EOC. He has also held oversight to ensure that Putnam County was certified by National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration as a storm-ready organization. He has assisted in obtaining critically needed equipment for the EMS operations on many occasions. His commitment to go above and beyond to protect the citizens of Putnam County makes him abundantly deserving of this award. It is with great pleasure that I present this year's State of Florida Friend to EMS Award, Rick Leary, County Administrator, Putnam County.
I'd like both of the chiefs and the EMS staff that's here to please come for a Kodak moment. Please come forward.
Rick,
His wife
Rick,
is also.
turn it up right. Now you know why she's here, right? Rick, square.
Just come across the front, it'll be fine, and we'll scram.
Get out of the way.
Come on, staff. Come on, team.
See Nancy?
Yeah,
Can they see you?
it's okay. Okay, good. Right in between here. Okay. Can you get next to me? Okay.
Walton is today.
Congratulations, Mr. Leary. We'll get your speech later. Item 3 on the agenda this morning is recognition employee of the quarter. And if the emergency services team will stick around for just another quick moment, we have the quarter from July to September, and that recognition, and we ask to come to our front, Debbie Wilkinson, Emergency Services.
Mr. Chairman,
We want your speech, Debbie.
Debbie is a rescue billing clerk with Emergency Medical Services. She started with the county in 2010 as a rescue billing clerk, and in 2013 she was promoted to a rescue billing clerk 1. She has over 5 years of service with the county, and she is instrumental in the department increasing its collection rate over those years for emergency medical services billing, and she has been selected by a committee of her peers as the employee of the quarter for the quarter ended September the 30th. So we want to congratulate Debbie.
Commissioners, it has been spoken by our administrator. The record that Debbie Wilkinson brings to us speaks volumes for itself. The job that she's doing is not just the job, it's her passion that goes with what she does. And so we're very proud as commissioners today to award this Employee of the Quarter to you in recognition of exemplary service for the time period ending September 30th, 2015. And it's all about you loving Putnam County and loving what you do. So again, in appreciation, I present this certificate to you from the commission on behalf of, again, the entire county and the county employees and staff, especially in your department. Also to go with that, just a small token of appreciation to to say that it is from our heart to your heart. So thank you for being you, and God bless you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, while you're getting your own Kodak moment, could I say that I've always tried to keep emergency medical services close to me because you never can tell when you might need them. But I appreciate that recognition, but those folks in the back of the room, they're the ones that do all the work, so we need to give them a round of applause.
Speaking of hometown heroes, again, we are very grateful for our emergency services, the leadership, and the team. And please pass that on to all, especially those that are on duty even as we speak. We'll move on to item 4, which is public comment, an area of our agenda that we look forward to as we meet. This part of our agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to our attention. It's not reasonable for anyone to expect that we can give you definitive answers or responses or engage in debate or deliberation concerning matters that we don't really have prior information on as a part of the agenda. We ask that all that come, please come practicing civility, and also 3 minutes is what has been allocated for you. And if you would be kind enough, there are public meeting comment cards that are placed strategically in the back of the meeting room on both sides as you enter. And if you will submit those to our deputy clerk, we would be most gracious, and then we will call you in that order. Ms. Wanda Ruckowich has filled out the first card. Please come forward. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All I want to know is what's happening to our county. It looks awful. The grass is knee high. You're coming in, it's not pretty anymore. It's maybe across the river it looks good coming in, but in the West End it looks horrible. Can you tell me what's going on? Why are we being left out? Or it just looks awful.
Okay. Mr. Pelletier would like to respond.
I was talking with the mowing contractor. When it's wet, and it hasn't been really that bad, they can't mow as well to the bottom of the ditches, so they do make a little faster time across the county. Being as it's been as dry as it's been, the ditches are dry. They're mowing further out and doing a better job. I'm sorry where you haven't been, you haven't seen it, but they are mowing further across the ditches, and it's taking them longer to get to where the normal progress rate they would be at. So
what about down the middle of the road? You know, where you have 2 lanes on that way and 2 lanes on this way.
That would be state.
That
would be
That's state?
Yeah, that'd be the
yes,
state.
and the state has
We don't have any
contractors.
divided highways.
Well, get on them.
Okay.
It looks horrible. We look like stepchildren.
And we don't want to look like stepchildren.
No.
Okay, but thank you for raising the issue, and we certainly will raise that issue with the proper DOT authorities.
Okay, because I'm working hard to bring people here, and
Yes,
you
and we
know,
appreciate
it
that.
looks horrible.
Yeah, I've got,
Huh?
I have 2 good-looking stepchildren.
Well, nothing's wrong, but it looks bad, and we want more people.
Yes, and
Not
aesthetics
less.
aesthetics are important because perception is reality, and we respect your commentary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again. Our next citizen representative is Ms. Diane Williams. Good morning.
Good morning, Diane Williams, 109 Westlake Drive, Hawthorne, Florida.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question on the budget that Mr. Leary's going to present today with the
Okay,
taxes.
if you have something specifically on the budget.
Well, that's
we
what I
can-
have.
we
I
can
have
give you,
the item.
Okay, I'm sorry. We can give you opportunity at that time.
Okay.
Oversight on my part.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Good morning.
Morning, John Spells, 106 Citrus Lane. I don't know, it was a rumor that I've heard, and I've heard it twice, that my name was brought up during a workshop meeting, and I'm just here to question was it true that my name was brought up at the workshop meeting to indicate that I'm grandstanding when I get up here? So if someone can kind of enlighten me on whether was that said or not. At one of the workshop meetings, from my understanding, my name was brought up that I come to this meeting in grandstand. It ain't the first time. There's two individuals I've heard to say that I be grandstanding. I'm here asking, was my name brought up at a workshop meeting when I wasn't here? Because I feel like being a man, if there's something you got to say when I come up here and make comments, then you should be able to say something in my presence so I can defend myself. But to talk about me when I'm not present, I kind of feel, that's a coward way of addressing your point. So I'm here asking if I can get an answer. Have any of you as commissioners have brought my name up at a workshop meeting?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
Well, I look at it like this here. I come up here and voice my opinion. I might be wrong and I might be right, but I'm entitled to do that. And I listen to y'all always pacify and make excuses for the way the county actually looking. That mowing that they doing throughout the county, it is about the tackiest job I ever seen. What y'all need to do is go to St. John County and you can actually see where the taxpayers' money is being used. Not to just make up excuses about the ground being too wet, it's too dry, because that's just a poor excuse. I look in front of the road department, how they went down there with the wang mower and just cut one strip. Now the grass done growed back, then they went on the rails and trails that looked like crap with a bobcat trying to mow the grass. I went over on Palmetto about 3 weeks ago. There's a big pothole in the road. The road grader came, put a barricade up, and there ain't nobody been back over there. But really, this county is going down the drain. But every time you look around, y'all coming up with some kind of way to get more tax money, and nobody can actually see where the money going. West River Road, you started paving that. They left, quit, and then they disappeared. Now they putting another surface on the same side, but hell, they hadn't even remilled the opposite side. Everybody just skipping around, and I don't know whether y'all get all y'all barricades by the pallets. We got more barricade indications where there's problems with the roads, but nobody never fix them. They just stick up a barricade and take off. But if anybody have anything to say about me, I'd rather for them to say it to me while I'm here at the meeting. I don't want to be talked to behind closed doors. I want everybody to hear what I got to say, because when you talk behind closed doors, people have the tendency of saying they didn't say it. So if anyone have anything to say it where I can defend myself.
Thank you, Mr. Spell. Again, I have no recollection of you being the conversation by this commission in a workshop. There are times that you come, and it's really not about you presenting information to us. It's how you present it, and that's all we ask for, is to bring any issue you want. This board will not suppress you in any way, shape, form, or fashion as it relates to coming, and presenting yourself and expressing yourself. We won't in any way, shape, form, or fashion stop you or try to stop you or impede you from exercising your right to speak to us. All we ask you to do is practice civility, like we're asking everyone else. And when we do that, we get understanding, you get understanding. You bring a lot of information to the board. We do not have an issue with that. We need all of our citizens to be vigilant. We need you to be the eyes and the ears throughout our community to make us better. However, there are some times that we get some lashing that things are just being brought to our attention. Some of it we are aware of, but when it's all said and done, Putnam County is not going down the drains. That I can promise you. If all of us act like Putnam County is going down the drain, then poor us. If we recognize that we have some deficiencies and some deficits, and we work to overcome those things, then we do what we have to do, but together each of us will achieve more. And again, I'm not aware of any conversation about you. I would not even entertain individuals, and I don't speak to these commissioners outside of a public meeting there other than a high and by kind of thing, but I would not entertain in any way, shape, form, or fashion the commissioners bashing a citizen or vice versa there. I believe in parliamentary procedures, and that's how we have been operating. We will continue to operate. So I don't know who's carrying information and things of that nature, but I'm sure that each of these commissioners know you and don't have a problem meeting and discussing any of the county's business with you. So thank you so much for coming.
All right.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Good morning.
Good morning. Faye Sparkman, 103 Flamingo Boulevard, Interlochen, Florida. A couple months ago, I brought two things before you about the Firehouse Sub and Krispy Kreme donut. Every time we go to the VA, which is a couple times a week, every 2 weeks for sure, we go there to eat donuts. Mm-hmm. So they did an upgrade in there, and a man came walking by, and he said to my husband, everything okay? And Sparky said, no. He said, what's wrong? He said, you don't have one in Putnam County. His answer was absolutely no and never will be. So I said, can you please explain that to me? He said, you do not have the citizens there, you do not have the businesses there to warrant us to come there. Because to build a Krispy Kreme donut takes $1.8 million to $2 million to build the building. It makes 300 dozen donuts an hour. They make their money off retail and fundraisers. So I asked him, I said, if we can get some big businesses to come and build back up our citizens, would you come? He said no. And I said, well, what happens if one of those businesses would help you do it? He said, I'd have to think about it. He said, Krispy Kreme is working on building a machine that does half that amount of donuts at a time. He said, maybe. So just wanted to let you know. So I came home, and I thought about it, and Sunday I made my husband bring me in town from our house to in here. And in a 20-mile radius, we counted 21 businesses that are actually closed in this county. So then I started asking some more questions, and the questions and answers I'm getting are, I don't think our population is even at 60,000 people right now. So that's where all of you come into play. You need to do something to get some businesses here and get the people to come back. We're watching them leave this county every day, and something's wrong. So I just wanted to let you know why we can never have Krispy Kreme donut.
Okay, never say never, but thank you for your comments and your observations there. We are a rural community. Rural does not mean substandard and inferior. And we do recognize that, again, we have our challenges and we have our deficits, but working together, we can certainly be made better. So thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Roxana Regan Weeks for Loring Street, St. Augustine, Florida. Okay. I was here 3 weeks ago and brought an issue to your attention. I'd like to go into a little bit further about that. On May 28th, a animal rescue associate of mine drove from Georgia. We had a meeting with Mr. Hammonds, Mr. Salmons, and Ms. Suarez of Planning and Development that are in control of animal control. At that time, I gave 2 copies. It was a stack of Facebook screenshots soliciting money. This is the same thing I was talking about at the last meeting. And Mr. Hammonds made it perfectly clear, adamantly clear, he was not going to file criminal charges. That's why I came to this commission 3 weeks ago. Commissioner Harvey, the following day after the meeting, sent out this email. And it's in the reply from Mr. Salmons, it's stated in here that he had a discussion with Mr. Strickler, the attorney for PCSO, because a copy had been sent to them of the complaint and the questions. And Mr. Strickler, instructed them to write a letter demanding the return of the money. This goes back 3 years, this money has been solicited. And I don't know what happened to the 2 copies that we gave. One of them was for Mr. Hammonds at that meeting in May, and the other I suggested he give to Mr. Castleberry to handle this issue and send a letter to return the money, but that never happened. And here in Commissioner Harvey's response in the email, Mr. Strickler advises Mr. Hammonds to send a letter. Mr. Salmons admits he drafted it for Brian Hammonds to sign, and he failed to do so. we're talking about thousands of dollars here in a 3-year period. This money was intended for the animals. I don't know what else to do. I've asked them to handle it. I've asked this board to handle it. Commissioner Harvey tried, and it's gone nowhere. I don't know what else to do here. I really don't. I feel like no matter where I go, and this is all about the animals, they need this money. And that shelter needs this money. And for somebody, and what really is the aggravating thing is this individual is featured in the paper Friday. And I know you're involved in this, Commissioner Liable.
Keep it on point.
And to, excuse me?
Keep it on point.
That is the point.
Okay.
This individual that has been soliciting this money and taking this money for 3 years is featured in this story Friday about the adoption center. And they present a false, the idea of going on no kill on the shelter, that's a wonderful idea, but we're nowhere near that.
Okay, thank
and
you,
to
Ms. Weeks.
falsely state the kill rates from 95 to 12%, that's a disservice to the citizens. We need to address the truth before we can come up with a solution.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Thank
Weeks.
you.
Thank you for your commentary. And again, it is your opinion when you come before us. What you are saying to us is being documented and recorded. Mr. Hammonds overhear your conversation. He knows about the situation. He answers to Mr. Leary, and we will get proper memos to update us on these type of cases, but we will not micromanage and get engaged in a law enforcement or civil matter because we are legislators. So thank you so very much. I did not call you back to the podium, Ms. Weeks. Your time is up. No, ma'am, your time is up. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Your time is up. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Okay, any other citizens to come before us? This time I will move past public comment. Item 5 on the agenda is the consent agenda. Where you see an asterisk means that there will be remarks by the county administrator. A is a list of committee minutes, recommendations distributed to become part of the record. B is list of correspondence also distributed to become part of the record. D, Finance 2013 Consolidated Unclaimed Monies List and proof for publication. E, Administration, SHIP Homeowners Rehabilitation Funds up to $30,000, Cassandra Keenan. F, Approval of Tax Collectors List of Errors and Insolvencies Report for 2013. G, General Services List of Surplus Inventory. H, Jail Expansion Contingency Change Request, $29,706.93. Total project cost remains unchanged, and the scope is 5 tons of additional rebar. I is SHIP Modifications to Local Housing Assistance Plan, LHAP, 2015 to 2018. J, Administration, Sheriff's Budget Amendment Resolution, $5,000 to record revenue and allow for expenditure of Florida Department of Ag Marijuana Eradication Grant. K, Public Works, Addendum Number 2, Mater and Associates Continuing Services Agreement, $91,500. Time extension for paving, design, and construction of St. John's Riverside Estate Source Better Place Plan. L, Public Works, Addendum Number 5, Construction Services Incorporated, CSI, $311,774.31. Design, permitting, marking, and signage for 3.568 miles of Holloway Road, and that's coming from FDOP SCOPS program. M is acknowledgement of the City of Palaca's appointment to the Library Board, Ms. Annie B. Fetlick. Okay, that is the contents of the consent agenda. We do have representation. Mr. Leary, if you will call those who will speak concerning item H, and commissioners, if there are any other items that need discussion before we vote, please let me know at this time.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Pills, sir. I was going to pull item L.
Okay, item L, okay.
K for me.
K. Any others? Okay. Mr. Leary, will you invite our guests or give us some commentary, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Relative to the contingency change request on the jail, we have 2 representatives from Ajax Building Corporation, which is serving as the construction manager on the project. Jeremy Cox and Michael Jenkins are here from that firm, and they are prepared to just address the technicalities relative to the additional rebar connected with the contingency change request. This is Mr. Cox, and he's going to address
Morning,
that matter.
Mr. Cox. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioners, Mr. Leary. I think perhaps we've got a copy of
Up closer to you.
we've got a copy of the citizens' questions, and I think perhaps in explaining the process, that might actually answer the question.
Okay.
One of the comments was there soils test to determine if some of this additional reinforcing steel was necessary, and yes, there was. Our contract, the way it's written, requires us to bid out each particular scope of work throughout the course of the project. So through the course of doing so, we have to get plans from an architect who designs based on the parameters of that soils report, which we did. That soils report gave a certain series of recommendations to bring the soil up to a suitable bearing pressure, which we did. And then we solicit prices from the metal building companies, from the concrete companies, based on the assumptions that those soils reports assume. Once the metal building companies provide their prices, all of which have independent designers and independent engineers, we take those calculations, give them to the architect, the engineer of record. They in turn compare those calculations with the assumptions they made for the foundations, in which case required additional steel. We include a contingency in our contract for just this purpose, things like this. So as you mentioned, there is no increase to our GMP at this time.
Commissioner Lytle.
The amount of steel, I still don't understand how we could be off that far. The amount that we see here and the amount you're requesting is a big, big difference in number. Can you shed some light on that for me?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not the engineer of record, so I can speak from experience. We have a set of engineered drawings that show particular steel within the foundations. The engineer receives the shop drawings from the independent metal building companies, and they compare those to what they assumed at the original design. So at that point in time, the engineer felt it necessary to increase the reinforcing for these foundations.
Okay, I guess what you're saying is the design was not complete until the metal building was analyzed to the foundation.
That is correct, and that is a normal, typical process for a metal, they call it a pre-engineered metal building.
Okay, I didn't get that out of this, excuse me, but that makes sense.
Any further questions?
Mr. Cox, I have. It seems like every meeting we're having this contingency talk at the jail, and every conversation says, well, we're still within that range. But your page here says, if the project contingency is exhausted, this work would be basis of change order to the contract. So we're all talking about this parameter of money that we set aside, but pretty soon that money's going to go away. And this is a big chunk of that money going away again. And I promise you, it's almost every meeting we're having here has a contingency. We all want a jail. We all want a safe jail. But we should have looked at this prior to this, because this money's going to exhaust itself, and then you're going to be coming back to us wanting more money, and there is no more money to be had. And that's the realization of what's going to take place. So I'm all for a safe jail. I'm all for a jail, but maybe we should have, we went with a contractor that has built many jails. We should have maybe looked at this prior to doing this.
Our job is to make sure that the contract does not exceed the budget. So we update the contingency log at every meeting. We talk about the potential items that are coming up, and this was one of the potential items for several months and was since the beginning of the project. So we'll be happy to produce that contingency log if you'd like.
Do you see any more changes coming forward?
Sure. There's the contingency within our GMP is intended to be used. And so as the theoretically, as the course of the project progresses, that contingency goes down to zero. And that way the county is able to use all of the dollars that are associated with that budget for their new building. So our job is to manage that money properly so that it goes down to zero at the end of the project, not before, as you're mentioning.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cox.
Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Further comments?
None really. To Mr. Harvey's comment, I just think that this concept that they're applying to the construction here probably is less confusing to us if we knew this in advance. I agree with you. I'd like to see that, but I can see where if you committed to a certain price way beforehand and it changed, that could cause more havoc than what you're doing here now. So I support what you're doing, but a little more communication to this board would be really good.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Tim Hope, please come forward. Good morning, sir. Introduce yourself.
Good morning, sir. Tim Hoteling, San Mateo, and I was part of that question.
Yes, sir.
47,000 pounds of rebar, couple truckloads. As I understand it, building engineers have computers and ACADs and all that fancy stuff that pretty well spits out what's necessary. As I understand it, there's lots of jails that are being built around the country, and you all chose an architect whose specialty is building jails.
Yes, sir.
As I understand it, this new change was going from number 5 to number 6 rebar and changing the center-on-center width, significantly increasing the strength of it. I do not understand how it is that they had no comprehension that that building had to be built to certain specifications of strength when they tried it the first time.
Thank you for your comment.
I'd like to know what he has to say about that.
Well, I think you just did. I mean, can you get your question a little more specific?
How is it that the first time that there was an architect, a structural engineer, went to all the other engineers,
So let's get them explaining.
came back to another structural engineer, came back to an oversight engineer or architect, whoever, for final review pursuant to the FDA state requirement, how it is that there was a 47,000 pound difference, and more critically, the difference necessary, what was necessary that caused them to have to put the rebar closer together and have bigger rebar? Don't they have any comprehension on the strength of the concrete that's being used?
I think they applied that, and then they took a second look at it and said, this is better.
But
I kind of like the phasing. I think
I understand that, sir.
Well, ask them
Why,
then.
why is it that with their computers and their knowledge, skills, and abilities, they didn't have any idea about that the last time?
I don't think it's a matter of not having an idea. I think it was explained to us that it is.
I heard that, Mr. Flagg.
Okay.
I'd like to know what he says.
Okay, he just said it.
He just said what? What is your understanding of what he said?
Okay, we're not going back and forth, Mr. Hoteling.
Okay,
If you
I'm
want
sorry,
him,
sir.
If you want him to come back and answer a specific question that he did not answer to your satisfaction, that can happen.
I would like him to answer
But he
why it
also
is.
made it known what his role is in this project.
What I would like to understand why it is that a certified, qualified engineering firm can be off by 47,000 pounds of rebar and be off by the center-on-center strength requirements for something that's built around the country regularly. It's not new engineering.
It's not explained to us as if it was inaccurate in the beginning. That's not the explanation we have. Will you come back just a moment, sir? Address the commission, please.
No problem. Again, I'm not the engineer of record, so I do not know the thoughts or calculations that went forth in creating the documents, the original documents, nor the decision to increase the steel. I will tell you that the bid process requires us to take the individual, you're getting competitive bids, so you're getting engineered metal, pre-engineered metal buildings with different engineers, with different calculations from different companies. And those different companies have different load requirements and different uplift requirements that are going to change the foundations inherently that any engineer originally develops. So I've never been part of a project with a pre-engineered metal building that the foundations have not changed. Whether they're of this quantity, I don't know.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions on jail expansion contingency requests? Okay. Item L, Sheriff Budget Amendment Resolution, $5,000. Commissioner Pelletier.
No, that's not item L.
That's you. Who asked for?
I asked for L, but that wasn't L you just read.
I'm sorry. L. Public Works.
You're the
Let's go to K. Public Works Addendum number 2.
Mr. Kofovitz, just, I felt come on up. 25, 67. On the exclusions, do you have an agenda packet with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I just had some basic questions on the scope of the work, and then when I got to the end of this document, the exclusions seemed to contradict pretty heavily what the scope of the work was. If you take just a moment to read it, it's on page 72 at the very end. And, especially when it comes to construction, engineering, and inspection, design and value engineering.
That's because we're going to do that in-house, the construction inspection.
Okay, and that saves us money overall, I
Yes.
guess, in the contract. All right. But normally that would be this engineer's scope of work, wouldn't it?
It could be, if that's what we ask them to. In this case, we simply don't have the time to design this, to go out from dirt to pavement, so we're asking them to do the design for us. Typically, we would do everything, the design, the construction, inspection.
Okay, that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coker.
Item L, Public Works Addendum number 5, CSI. Mr. Pelletier.
Yes, I was speaking with Mr. Leary earlier in the week, and we were talking about the product that Commissioner Harvey went down to Polk County, I believe it was, and looked at, and I was under the impression this is where we were going to try this. Is that correct, Mr. Leary?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Masters is here from that company, and I wanted him to talk a little bit about it. Somewhere in one of our workshops, I remember that this product doesn't work well with real sandy soils, and Holloway grade is a super sandy soil. And I just want to verify that with him and let him tell us a little bit more possibly about what it works best with, and we may want to rethink this a little bit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, a soil that is 0 PI, it doesn't have a binder, so you will have some haul in. On an average, it works best in a clay type soil with, say, lime rock additive that, say, over the period of years you've tried to stabilize that road with other mechanical stabilizers, and it works best with that. It works in just about all soils except for sugar sand because it's 0 PI and it won't stick to itself. So the savings to the county is no haul out, but there could be a minimal haul in. Does that?
That pretty well covers it, but what I guess I'm getting at is I'd like to see us give your product the best possible shot it could have to be sure that what we're getting is the most bang for our buck.
Yes.
I'd like for you, before we commit with you on this road, to go out there and do some sampling and just find out if it's adequate, or is there, are we going to have a lot of haul in, or maybe let's pick a road that is more ready, so to speak, to go for your product.
Yes, that would work. We engineer all of our projects through Universal Engineering Sciences in Orlando. So we'll be taking soil samples, whether it's Holloway Road or any other road, to make sure that we have the correct additives if needed, and the depth for the wheel load and that sort of situation.
Right.
So yes, we can go ahead and pull soil samples and have them analyzed from any roads that you prefer to find out which one would work best, less cost to the county.
Right.
Didn't we pick a road to do this sample on?
I think there were several tossed around, but I don't remember.
Mr. Leary, do you remember? I thought we picked a road.
Thought this was the road.
Yeah.
Holloway grade? Well, I kind of differ. You want an ideal condition, Commissioner Pelletier.
Well,
I think the worst condition probably is the way we ought to
Well,
go.
what I'm more concerned about is the cost that you're going to get into if this road doesn't meet those standards, and how much aggregate you're going to have to bring in there to give it some base, and what it's going to drive the cost up to.
So sampling will tell us that. This might be a good one to start with, though, because this is predominantly what we deal with, isn't it?
Well, a lot of it, but you may get more in their bargain than what you're bargaining for.
We need to know on the very first one, don't
Well, again, when it's all said and done, we want the excellence, we want the efficiency, and at the same time, we've got to deal with the economics of it all. And so we're back out in another playing field if economics is still not the top three. I mean, we've got to deal with excellence, efficiency, and economics. It's no question about that. And so I'm, following Commissioner Lible here. We can't pick and choose. If we're talking about a product that we want to use in various and sundry locations throughout this county, the product need to be tested on the worst so that we will know worst case scenario and then, best case scenario. But again, it's not like there's a deep well for the economics. Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't believe it's a topic of that. I believe we're going to have to bring in fill no matter what road we pick in this county, because your product is going to stick to a certain type of element, basically, with some lime rock and some clay. I don't know if we have a road out there that'll meet 100% of the specs right now, is my point. So, Don, to address to you, we're going to bring material in whether we use this product or not use this product. If we don't use this product, we're going to bring more lime rock in, correct? If we use the product, we'll do less lime rock.
That's a possibility. And we won't know until we actually test the soil. And that's part of the contract also, is for the consultant to do some testing of themselves.
But one thing we do need to make sure of, and I've said this from day one, that road out there is a logging road. Those log trucks will tear that road to pieces. So if we don't get that road right the first time, we're not going to have a second shot at getting that road right. And that concerns me. Commissioner Palacier and I went over to the Etnire Creek thing that they had over in East Palaca. And one of the questions I asked was, can you bring your trucks out a different way? And no, they can't. They got to come down Holloway grade. So that's an issue for me. But it's an issue all throughout the county. But either way we go with this product, we got to bring material in somewhat, some way, shape, or form. Hopefully the less material, the better off.
Commissioner Harris, just a moment, sir.
Okay. Mr. Jacobowitz, this project's funded by SCOP. It's a grant through the state?
That's correct.
And do they fund it even if you have to add more material? Do they cover that, or do we have to?
They fund it up to the amount in the grant, and the grant that we have for this is a limited amount. If it goes above that, for us to provide more material or anything else that we have to do, then we have to provide additional funds. Originally, we were discussing doing this as a conventional asphalt road, and we determined that we would only be able to pave about half of it if we did it in that route. So we looked at this product as a good product to use on this road, because we figured we could do the entire road with that type of construction.
What do you mean when you say you figured?
Well, the way we looked at the cost in doing this type of road versus the conventional asphalt, in our determination, we could do the entire length.
Okay, so help me to understand why the analysis of Holloway was not already done by in-house engineers so that we would know whether this is going to work, and not wait until such time that we go to the next step. I don't quite get that, because we're hoping and things of that nature on this, and then at the same time, we do have X amount of dollars through the program, as Commissioner Harris has alluded to, and some way or another, if our guesswork is wrong, somebody's going to be holding a bag. Either Public Works going to be holding a bag, or the company who provided the material is got to be, but it's going to tell us, well, if you guys had followed these particular specifications, this would not be happening. And I'm hearing something about another project that we're struggling over right now that does not tickle me as it relates to the quality. And that's really what it's about. I don't think any of us are engineers here. We have to understand the language, but when it's all said and done, we need not to cater to the legislative desire. We need to cater to what's going to work and be within budget.
Well, that's correct. And our engineers did go down to Polk County and look at the process before and after it was installed there, talked with their engineers. We got the specifications. We looked at them. We went out several times to Holloway Road and looked at Holloway Road. And from our inspection of Holloway Road, our engineers determined that this product would be good on the road and that it would cover the entire length of the road.
I don't think you've still yet answered the question of, are we going to overrun our money of the amount of material that we're going to have to bring in there, and then we're going to be digging in our pocket and not the state's pocket?
Well, we won't know that number until we do the final analysis of all the soils along the road. We took some samples, but not thorough samples throughout the road, and that's part of the contract for the design, is to take and make a final specification. They're going to look at the type of product that Mr. Masters has and determine the right measure that it should be placed on that roadway surface.
Okay, so the quality of the entire project, we're saying that initially we would be able, through the conventional means, to do half the length.
That was our estimation.
Okay, so is half the length with some guarantees better than twice the length with no guarantees?
Well, that is a decision that we would have to make, and when we discuss that, the decision we had is we would like to do the entire road if we're going to pave the road.
And I do understand that, but I don't want, after the road is built, for us to have the same conversation and for the commission to be the ones that are blamed because you feel that there's a directive given to you, we've got to use this product, or we come back with another change order, because again, we know that in any construction project, whether it's a jail, whether it's any type of commercial building, residential building, it's going to be change orders. My concern is whether or not we're going to comply and stretch the budget to the point that we're going to compromise what we're doing to get it done, to get the whole road done, or whether we're going to come up short fiscally and got to find some, have to find some money somewhere.
And we understand that, and in our estimation, we feel this is a good product for this type of road. In its original use, a lignin-based product, they were actually used for logging roads. That's where they were developed. And in this type of scenario, we feel this is a good product for this road.
Any further discussion?
I guess one more thing. The grant amount is $311,774, and the mileage for the road is 3.5 miles. And we haven't been spending $100,000 a mile from dirt.
No, this is for the design, and the grant amount is about, I think it's 1.2 million. I don't have that figure, but this is just for the design work for the road, not the construction. They will prepare the bid documents, and once we get the bid documents in hand, then we'll go out for bids to have it actually constructed.
My whole point of this thing was, I felt like that, why don't we use the product on a road that we feel really good about, that it would eliminate a problem that's been there forever, that we've got a lot of the right materials already in place, and cut our cost everywhere we can cut it by knowing, that we've already got as much as we can possibly help this product work already in place without the added expense of bringing in more aggregate. That was my whole point in this whole conversation. Because if this thing does okay, and we know we're putting it on the very worst road we've got, you follow where I'm going with that? Then you're going to chunk it. We don't want that out here anymore. It's just garbage. When you're given it the very worst of circumstances to go up against, in my opinion.
We don't think that by no means is this the worst of circumstances. Holloway Road is a decent road, and we feel this is a good place to do it as a first try.
Oh, I want it to be successful. 1,000% I want it to succeed, but the expense thereof is concerning me, that if it doesn't do what it should do on that road, then, like I said, you're gonna run this man out of town, and I don't want to see that happen.
Okay, so this particular addendum is related to the design, permitting, marketing, and signage for the road. Any further discussion on this item? Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Proper motion, second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign, hearing none, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, can we take a break for a second?
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Goes back in session. We're moving to item 6 on this morning's agenda. The Honorable Linda Myers, tax certificate sales and county held certificates is the nature of her presentation. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Clerk of Courts, Rick, and the staff that's with us. Welcome to the audience, too, because we're talking about an exciting topic. If you recall, maybe 4 weeks ago, somewhere in that ballpark, we were asked to bring in information on how does a tax certificate sale work? What is it all about? What's a tax certificate and how does it work? And in your packet, somewhere around page 3, I believe, you have the format that we followed last time. And if you recall, we got to the very bottom of the middle section, right before you see to purchase a county held certificate. We got there, and people said, you asked us, well, what is a county held? And we said, well, let's talk about that next time, because that's another issue. But before we get into county held, what I'd like to do, and first of all, let me introduce who's with me today. I have Rose Wilkinson with Tax Administration. She's our department head, and Nicole Coward, who is our clerk, too. The two of them really do a lot of good work for Putnam County. Rose, if you would pass out the new Top 10 Bidders Award to the commissioners and Mr. Leary.
I think we have, is it different from what we have in the
It
packet?
is.
Okay.
The one we gave you originally, like I have to tell you, I passed it by one of my experts, my husband, and he said, they'd rather see it ranked by money, and that's the banker's point. These are the same 10 bidders, but instead of ranked by the number of certificates they won, we ranked them instead by how much money they invested in Putnam County. And then also you would note that the interest rate is now in a percentage, which is just a little bit easier to read. Before it was in the decimal format, and it's a little confusing. And so under his recommendation, we redid it, and I think it gives you the information you'll want to have. First of all, this cover sheet, which is just a comparison for you, at the end of the 2014 tax certificate sale, which as you recall was May 28th of 2015, the dollars that were collected were $4.445229 million in tax certificate sales. So I want you to understand what a major part, and if you look at that column, tax sale total, then look at the column next to it, how that plays into the year-to-date total, which is at this point, your year-to-date total was just under $69 million from real estate taxes, from taxes, property taxes. So I wanted you to see, first of all, how that ended up. And if you note, compared to 2013, they're very close. It looks like it was about, I didn't do the math there, maybe 50,000 higher in 2014 than in 2013, but reasonably comparable on that bottom line. What you see in this format is the money that is going to all the different areas of your budget, and also, of course, the cities and the school board are on here. But the total of the tax certificate sale is that bottom line, $4.4 million. Last year, $4.3 million. So we wanted you to have the end result, but also to recognize that we have roughly 10 bidders here that invested almost $3.5 million in purchasing these certificates. So as a refresher course, if you recall, these are tax parcels that had delinquent taxes. So the county did not receive those taxes. However, these folks paid the taxes for the property owner, putting a lien on the property owner. But the important part is that money actually goes back into serving Putnam County where it's needed. So another $4.4 million came in of current year taxes actually at current year, I should say, we have started, as I recalled last time, we started adding in past years that got left out for a variety of reasons. If you were in bankruptcy in 2012, we didn't sell a certificate on that, but if you are now out of bankruptcy in 2014, we could sell a certificate on that. So it includes a few parcels from prior years, but in general, 99 or 98% is 2014 taxes. So that's now, it has been distributed, so all of the different government authorities have it. But it's important to realize that our online auction really allows us to reach a lot of potential people to invest, and corporations to invest in this. And these 10 invested just about $3.5 million. That really is a positive. That online auction, under Ken Mahaffey years ago, we went to the online auction and it changed the dynamics of this entirely. So that's the end result. Do you have any questions on that? Just wanted to finish that up. But if we go back to this sheet, the question asked last time is what happens to the ones nobody purchases a certificate on them? And by the way, that's lots of parcels. I don't have that number, but we at least have over 50% of the parcels that no one purchased a certificate on those. So those become county-held certificates. So I'll direct you to the middle of this page, the bottom middle, where it says, to purchase a county-held certificate. This now is the process where those certificates are available. So 2014 delinquent taxes that weren't purchased at the tax certificate sale are now county-held certificates and are available for purchase. Nicole, do you have we passed out the, okay, would you please give those to the commissioners, Rick, Larry? And we've already, I think, given one to Tony for the record.
I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
So if this is an online auction and then these are the ones that no one bid on, what do these online people, what are they seeing in value that these are not seeing?
That is the million-dollar question. We understand from our large bidders that they have algorithms that they put in, and they actually, our local bidders will tell you they research them because our website, much like the clerk's website, if you're looking for different properties, it's very easy to look at everything that's available and study the background, study past due taxes in other years. It's very easy for an individual to sit down and do that. But when you're talking about thousands of them, big companies have an algorithm, and they just take our information in a spreadsheet form, dump it in a computer, and it tells them to purchase these for whatever their criteria are. You would have to ask our local bidders, and we have 10 to 15 of them who are active, what they do. Now, they're more specific. They know the property.
That's my next question.
Yes.
All right, so when we go to the room, the old commission room, and we conduct an auction, is the online auction going on simultaneously with the folks in that room? I never had a good handle on this.
We're going to defer to the clerk to come talk about that auction, but that's a different auction. That isn't actually that is the next step. That's the tax deed sale auction. That is when a tax certificate owner takes it to sale because the taxes haven't been paid in the time frame that they're required to hold them, which is 1 year and 10 months.
So these folks are really looking for return on investment.
They're looking for that interest rate.
Yep.
That's exactly what they're looking for.
All right.
Excuse me. And you'll see the average interest rate.
Certainly better than a CD.
Yes, it is. The average interest rate across all of them, not just these 10 bidders, was 3.86. That is better than a CD.
Yeah.
That's better than any safe. And we don't want to say this is a guaranteed return because sometimes folks don't pay the taxes. But in general, these bidders are looking for interest with idle money. Idle money. 1.1, idle money.
Never had idle money.
I certainly haven't had more than pocket change. But so that's kind of the end result on that. Now what I'd like to do is, again, talk about county held. What was important about the tax certificate sale when it went online, it made a major difference. So for the past couple of years, we have had our bidders, our local bidders, saying, I'd like to do county helds online. Up until this February, you could do county helds, but you would have to come into our office. You'd have to search the database, or you could search it at home and come in then and go to the property appraisers and look at theirs. What's the property look like? How many past years are out delinquent on it? Are there? It was an arduous task. And I direct you to see how arduous it was to show you how many we did last year in the entire 2014 year. It is the sheet that just was handed out. It says county health certificates sold in 2014. The entire calendar year, we sold a value of $48,000. What I want to direct you to now is the one that says the total of $105,000. Do you see that? We took this online. Again, our tax department brought the idea forward. They've been talking about it for years, and with Michelle Roberts' help, we worked with our online auction folks and said, let's put this online. We've had such success. This went online in February, and so and it was down for May and June because of the tax certificate sale. So in 2.5 months, we sold 105,000 online as opposed to 48,000 last year, the entire year. So we really expect this to be very effective. And because some of the folks with us today might not recall or were not here last time, this is not new taxes. This is not new money. These are taxes that have been maybe weren't paid in 2007, 2008, 2009. They have a 7-year life. So maybe 10, 12, 14. So these are taxes that just haven't been paid, but they've been owed. And online now, we have bidders going online and paying those taxes. Again, now they become an individually owned tax certificate. They purchase it from the county, and it's now individual. And when they do that, they get 18% interest, because that is what the interest rate allowed by law for the county, and it's required to be 18%. So we see an opportunity to start moving some of these properties to get the taxes from them, which is very positive for the community. So we want to share that with you and tell you how easy it is to now go online. I know I've been surfing the clerk's web lately. The online abilities really help all of us to see what's out there. For those folks who don't have a computer, the library does, and we have going to be giving classes throughout the year at the library for folks to understand how you can do either the tax certificate sale or how to purchase county health, so that everybody in the community has an opportunity to be invested in this. So questions?
This has been very helpful, I'll tell you that.
You know, a lot of people, it's kind of a mystery. We do have a few extra sheets, I think. Nicole, do we? So if anybody is interested, as we leave, if you'll hold your hands up, we'll distribute them to the best of the numbers we have. And if there are more people, we certainly can get copies if you'll get names.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, when they buy a county health certificate, they get 18% if the property owner pays the taxes.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. And that's a good point to bring up. For example, if I went online and purchased a county held this year, I would, depending on the year, I would have to hold it based on the original date, not when I bought it. So if the county held is a 2010 and I buy it today, I can actually take it to sale. I do not have to wait that 1 year and 10 months, because that 1 year and 10 months was held and waited through. That waiting period was when the county held it. If I purchased a 2014, I would have the 1 year and probably 9 months left.
And if you took the 2010 to sale, you would, once you have invested in and some other costs, become the opening bid, and you may or may not, you will either end up with a property or you'll get your money back plus your 18%, et cetera.
If someone purchases it.
Yes.
Yes. If no one purchases it, it comes back to you and you own it by sort of default.
I think so. What you're saying, you're not guaranteed the property by taking it to sell.
Well, you're guaranteed, yes, go ahead.
Okay.
You're guaranteed either the property
Right.
Or the money.
All your money back plus the 18%
Right.
that you bought it.
You're guaranteed one of those.
Mhm.
You'll either own the property or you'll get correct. And at this point, other questions?
And you're guaranteed the property if you want to bid high enough.
True. That's true. But I've seen people go in there when Tim held them and thought it was a guarantee, and it wasn't.
No, it is not. You do end up sometimes with the property. And I think the natural next step would be the tax deed sale, because of course that's the next step from county helds and also from tax certificates. The next step on the process is either they're redeemed by the owner, which a number of them are, especially if they're homesteaded. They're redeemed. But those that are not redeemed go to tax deed sale under the clerk's auspices, and perhaps that would be the next presentation to kind of round it out for everybody on how this works. It was a delight to be here.
Thank
And
you so
we're
much.
busy looking for those past due tax dollars and to bring them to fruition.
Thank you so very much.
You're more than welcome.
Harris?
No, I was just saying, thank you, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right.
It was good.
Okay, thanks again for your presentation. Item 7, Larry Gass, Solid Waste Director, Task Order Number 137, Jones Edmonds and Associates Incorporated, $722,326. Sale 4A Construction Services for Landfill, and of course, the source is the Enterprise Fund. Good morning. I know that Jones Edmonds is represented.
Boy, are they.
Introduce your guest, please.
Al Boudreau, Jones Edmonds. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
Terry Lowry, Jones Edmonds. Very nice to be here today.
Thank you.
Yes, this is,
Just before you get started, Larry, I think we're having some technical difficulties. I want to make sure that we can hear you. Speak in the mic again, please.
Can you hear me?
No. It's not like it was. I don't know what
No.
happened.
She turned us up and them down.
Pull it up a little higher. Now?
Gotta say more than now.
better? Is this any better?
Okay. Yes, that's better. Thank you.
All right, this is the Jones Edmonds task order for the cell 4A construction. That's the construction of the new landfill cell. It's for the construction services that Jones Edmonds would provide for overseeing the construction and the engineering, along with the QA, QC follow-ups and that kind of thing. If you need any details, Hal's been working on this, and he can provide all the detailed information that you need.
Okay, the discussion is Cell 4A, Construction Services, and again, Jones Edmonds and Associates is here to answer any questions. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gass, did this go out for bid?
No, sir, it didn't. It's a continuation of a task order 137, which is a task order for the continuing services contract that we have with Jones Edmonds.
It seems like to me that when I read through this packet, that we could be doing a lot of this in-house and save $750,000. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's 10 people making 70 grand a year, and we're fixing to give a contract out here that I believe we could oversee a lot of this work ourselves if we're going to stay in the landfill business. And that's another concern of mine, that now we're pretty much tying our hands to building the new cell, spending more capital money, and I'm not sure that the market's out there for more waste to come in. I'm just not convinced that this is the proper way to go. And I know you are. I know that you believe the county needs another landfill, but this cost is pretty high, in my opinion, for the services we're going to get.
The actual construction cost for the landfill is much higher than this. This is the construction services.
Right, this is an overseer.
This is to monitor the contractors that are doing the installation, to monitor the quality control and the quality assurance. We do not have staff engineers. We do not have staff QA, QC personnel. We cannot perform those items in-house.
And I have a question, if I could get in the middle of this. Larry, you said that you didn't see the need, the market isn't there to justify or warrant an additional cell?
Oh, I didn't say that. What I'm saying
that's
is
what I thought.
I don't know if the market is there, and we haven't done the proper looking at that. We're just in the talking stage as a county of where do we go with our landfill from here? Do we bring in more? Do we look for more? Is there more out there? But my concern has always been the dog chasing his tail, okay? Do we build another landfill and hopes to bring in money. You've already pretty much said at the last meeting we had, a workshop, that we're going to have to reduce our tipping cost to be able to attract more garbage or more solid waste in, which is going to, our costs are still going to go up, but our income's going to go down. So I don't see where we're going to win in this scenario whatsoever here. I think either we're going to be in the landfill business or we're not going to be in. And my data says there's a lot cheaper way of doing this. And committing ourselves right now, I'm not so sure that's the right way to go. That's what I was referring to, Mr. Locke.
Okay. Thank you very kindly. Mr. Pellissier, are you ready? I'm good. Commissioner Harris, any comments?
I think one thing that's important to note is that when you are obtaining professional services, you do not go out for bid like you do when you're constructing something. You actually bring the professional qualifications in of each agency and review it, and then you pick that company according to their qualifications. And a long time ago, we picked Jones Edmonds, and they have really done a good job for us. So I just wanted to explain that part of it.
Yeah, that's about having a relationship, and you certainly don't switch horses midstream there. We've got to get across this threshold that has been staring us, in the face for as long as it has been, and we certainly do not want to engage in another can-kicking contest. Mr. Leary, you had some comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that actually this action on this particular task order has been pending for several weeks, and we have held it in abeyance from putting it on the agenda. And it is on the agenda now as a result of a recent rather intense discussion by the board at a recent workshop where a majority of the members of the board expressed their opinion that they were of the opinion that action had already been indicated that it was the board's desire to pursue waste from outside the county to come into the county, and we had withheld putting this item on the agenda because it was staff's opinion that that action, while some members of the board felt had been that direction had already been provided, we didn't think it had been formally provided in the form of a motion and action by the board. So, I think in order for this kind of to get formalized in a proper procedure, if that is in fact what the board wants to do, and as I indicated, a majority of the board at the workshop kind of expressed the opinion that that was the direction that you thought you had previously provided, I think it would be an appropriate time to formalize that and then subsequent action on this task order.
Thank you, Mr. Leary, for your commentary. Again, this has been workshopped, it's been discussed, we've dealt with staff, we've dealt with advisory boards, we've dealt with task force, we've dealt, from day in and day out, talking about direction. Which way are we heading? There are a lot of opportunities and even options that exist, but right now we've got to discover that this is where we are and what needs to happen. And so I want us today to go on record either authorizing solid waste beyond the borders or at least make it crystal clear what direction that we're going in. And so that's what this discussion needs to center on. This task order is presented to us with the understanding that we move forward and saying that we are going to accept the waste. And I think that it was crystal clear that the advisory boards made it known while we were not seeking to become privatized or regionalized and things of that nature. It's crystal clear that the amount of waste that comes into the Putnam County facility is not going to ever be of the amount that we can pass the savings on, because the law of supply and demand comes into the equation here. So let's deal with that issue, and I think this issue is precise. Are we formally going on record authorizing solid waste beyond the borders? We have a recommendation. I think that it It's clear to the task force that in order for this facility to remain viable, in order for our budget to not be continuously taxing adversely, that we've got to do something along those lines. So let me hear from you. Again, I go back to Commissioner Harvey, and we will just come in order: Commissioner Harvey, Commissioner Pelletier, Commissioner Harris, and Lible, and then myself.
Mr. Chairman, I believe during this process in the last year, our citizens spoke loud and clear that they did not want a huge mountain of trash out there. And we've kind of talked about that as a board and whittled that down. My biggest concern now in the last workshop meeting that we had is that the trash or the solid waste that might come in would be of a lesser amount of money, and we're still on the hook for a lot of capital cost. And that's my biggest concern right now, is I don't want to go out there and spend millions of dollars with little return on investment. And that's where I think we're going when we start looking at the competitive market of solid waste. And I just want to go on record and say I don't mind bringing a little solid waste into the community, but I sure do not want Trash Mountain, and I sure don't want it not to affect the bottom line of our contingencies out there, our citizens' assessment. If we're just going to bring it in to lose money, I'm not in favor of that.
And nobody else is, Mr. Harvey. Okay. Let's be precise. No one on this commission is interested in a designation of Putnam County being Trash Mountain. Not only did the citizens speak loudly about what they wanted and did not want, what I heard overwhelmingly and louder than that was that they did not want a mountain of debt. And in order for us not to have a mountain of debt, we've got to look at the proposal that is presented to us to deal with outside waste. Does it need to be limited? You absolutely, unequivocally, best better believe that it has to be limited. It has to be strategically planned for the benefit of all concerned. Commissioner Pelletier.
What I understood and felt like that the people wanted, and the direction I certainly feel I like and can live with, is a Putnam County controlled landfill with us driving the boat, not one of those other large corporations. I do think we're going to have to accept some outside waste to cut some cost, and that's a learning process. I still think that we haven't ironed all the bugs and kinks out of that. This is a little new ground for us. Mr. Gass certainly has some experience, more so than anybody else, but I think us as the citizens of Putnam County, we've already dealt with our own waste. But I do feel like that at some point in time, we're moving in a direction that we are going to accept outside waste. And as I think you said, Mr. Flagg, a limited amount, but certainly a profitable amount to cut our cost. I think that's just the way that we're going to have to go with it to be most profitable for us.
Thank you, Mr. Pelletier. Ms. Harris.
We have been over this, and we realize that currently the way that we're running it, we are not making enough money to make it feasible without taxing our citizens. So we know that we need to bring other waste in. We know that our landfill is filling up and that we need a new cell. There's no question about that, and that this is the next step to do that. So I don't understand the hesitation. We've been over it and over it, and it's part of the recommendation from the task force, and I think we need to move forward.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Lible.
Okay, first of all, I mean, this is a enterprise fund. It's meant to go out and to operate within black ink, and whatever that takes is what it takes. We had two options. We know it. They're clear as a bell. We either go with a transfer station or we get into the landfill business, and that includes bringing in outside garbage. I'll say it, and I'll say it loud and clear. We have two entities in the back of the room, with all due respect. They're very interested in being partners with us because this is a very good opportunity when it comes to enterprising. Which way we go, I think we were very sincere and forward, and we wanted to retain the landfill. We want to bring in outside garbage to get the fees down, and I think we have a very good opportunity. The past 2 years have been a great learning experience. We know what will work and what not work. We have future technologies in this. The plasma arc is being developed. They might very well locate near the landfill and make fuel out of everything we bring in. I hope that happens. I really do, but it is an emerging technology. So it comes back down to, do we transfer this stuff like every other county up and down I-95 running north and south? We're the next corridor over from the coast. It's crystal clear what we have to do. I mean, we've all talked to Larry for hours upon hours, and I support us moving forward. This proposal from our engineers today gets the ball rolling. We're committed, as Mr. Leary said, from that point on, and I think we should be committed and show some leadership here, and let's go out and get some of these contracts, Larry. We're partner with some of our corporate partners. I don't care how we do it, but we need to bring this assessment down and quick as possible.
Agreed. Thank you very kindly. Again, we use the terminology crystal clear. What I hear overwhelmingly is that the landfill is an asset. Don't sell it. Okay, don't sell it. If you're going to sell it, you need to maintain it. And if we're going to maintain it, it simply means that we've got to control both the revenue side as well as the expense side. And in order to do that, we're going to need to move forward. Ms. Diane Williams filled out a card earlier, and I'd like for her to come and express her. Is this the issue? No. Okay, okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm trying to bring you ahead of time. Okay, Commissioners, what we have before us is this task order number 137. What is the pleasure of this commission?
So move approval.
Second.
Proper motion with double seconds. Further discussion? Mr. Harvey?
No.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Lible?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Flag? Yes. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jones Evans.
Okay. Moving forward, the presentation of tentative 2015-2016 budget, accept tentative budget and proposed millage rates. We'll have commentary by Mr. Leary, and then we will hear from Ms. Williams. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I think that you mentioned earlier that you would like to formalize the county's position relative to bringing waste in.
That is
from
correct.
outside.
I'll entertain a second motion that indicates that we understand the need to bring in waste from beyond the county boundaries.
Can I have the floor for a minute, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I want to talk on that subject a little bit. We were sitting here quietly in years past as this landfill was never thought of. The expense of solid waste assessments on our citizens was low enough that you never heard a thing. But why that was occurring, other counties that with larger populations and folks moving from the north here, they all teamed together because the expense of running a landfill was starting to go up, 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 up. And a single county couldn't do it. So very wisely, they teamed up and they got with some of the pro haulers or our big corporate haulers in this business. They either went with them or they teamed together like New River, 3 or 4 small rural counties, and they started using one landfill to keep the cost down. Well, Putnam County didn't do that. For whatever reason, we've been over that a million times. We were sitting here quietly on our own. Now, let's fast forward to 2015, 2014. Who do we have the partner with? Nobody. The partners are gone. They all teamed up with somebody else. We're kind of here on our own, and we're being very bold in what we're doing. And there's just so many ways we can go with this. And, going into this business is risky, yes, but I have a good feeling about it. I think that the other option, the transfer station, you're still at the mercy of somebody else. We do have control of our destiny here, and this is an opportunity to get into this and bring that solid waste assessment down. And I think it's time for us to lead again. I said it a minute ago. Let's do something.
I think the historical significance is certainly important. You can piecemeal anything, and at the very end, you have nothing but something that's a conglomeration of junk. And so it's just time to move forward. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We were forward-thinking in that we purchased additional land at the landfill. We have, 1,500 acres set aside for our future with landfill, and also opportunities to move on with other innovation as it comes after it's proven in the area. So I think we need to hang on to what we've got. We've got a good investment. We need to go ahead and make it profitable so that our citizens aren't burdened with a higher cost. And I think the way to do that at this time is to have our landfill and to bring in additional waste from other counties or cities that will work with us.
Is there any recommended cap, Mr. Gass? Is there recommended range again? We don't want to just do carte blanche. We want to make sure that we're reasonably saying how much outside waste should come in to cause us to be at a balancing point.
We can handle an additional 500 to 700 tons a day. I mean, to bring us to 700 tons, an additional 500 tons a day to bring us to 700 tons a day without any additional expenses other than the additional fuel that we would be burning for handling the additional trash. We wouldn't need any more equipment, any more manpower.
Okay, so in order to maximize what our current capabilities are, so we're increasing the revenue side but not the expense side, you're saying up an amount up to 500, which covers
500 to 700 tons would fit us perfect.
Okay, any comments, Mr. Leary?
No, sir. I mean, I think that what we would be suggesting that the board do is to at least authorize staff to initiate communication with other entities to ascertain whether or not there is interest on their part in, bringing waste into Putnam County.
Entertain a motion to formally go on record authorizing solid
Move
waste.
approval.
Proper
Second.
motion and a second. Further discussion.
I don't know what the motion just was, Mr. Chairman.
The motion is to go on record authorizing solid waste to be brought in to our county, to our facility, up to the recommended amount. Well, actually, they're going to negotiate. They can't do it without it coming back before the board. They're going to seek out individuals that can help us to achieve this.
So we're not going to place a cap on it today, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, you don't have a cap that you're placing. You're basically saying go out there, and it's still every interested party still has to come back before this commission.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, further discussion. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Lible?
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletier?
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey?
No.
Commissioner Flagg? Yes. Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Mr. Leary.
You ready for the budget discussion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Before I make my comments relative to the budget, Mr. Chairman, first I want to thank Mr. Anderson. Thank Mr. Anderson for the work that he's put in on the budget. He's putting a lot of hours in preparing a balanced budget for consideration. It's been a very difficult budget year. So in a lot of ways, it's been one of probably the most difficult budget year that we've had during the association that Mr. Anderson and I have had together. As you know, the budget is composed of a series of self-balancing funds. There are a number of different funds, and my comments are really going to focus on three of those funds, primarily those being the general fund, the MSTU, or the fire tax fund as we refer to it, and the sanitation fund. The general fund really is forms the crux of the county's budget. The general fund is the one that is most dramatically impacted by the overall countywide tax evaluation. As you know, our countywide tax evaluation has diminished in recent years. The amount of tax revenue that the county has had to work with has diminished dramatically in recent years. I think Mr. Anderson has got some comments he's going to make about that in a few minutes. But in this particular year, our countywide tax valuation has been dramatically impacted by the fact that the processing plant or production plant for Florida Power and Light ceased production, and due to some timing, that brought about a negative impact to our countywide valuation. And when the countywide valuation numbers reduce, naturally the amount of tax revenue available to the county reduces. So with less tax revenue available to the county, what the county found itself in a position of having to do this year was to take a look at the possibility of moving the millage rate towards the rollback rate. Moving to the rollback rate merely generates the same amount of countywide tax revenue in the coming fiscal year as the county has to work with in the current fiscal year. So there is no increase in tax revenue for the county to work with in the coming fiscal year than it has over the current fiscal year. So in essence, you know, we're kind of in a holding pattern in terms of funding county departments and being able to provide a level of services. The total county budget overall is reduced approximately 14%. Now that's due primarily to the fact that the East Putnam Regional Wastewater System construction is almost complete, and we hope to put that in service in September. And the jail project is ongoing, and with good fortune, we hope that that project will be completed in time for that to be put into service very early in 2016. But the fact that those funds have been expended during the current fiscal year, that has had a reduction in the need to appropriate any funds in the coming fiscal year, which has led to a total overall reduction in the bottom line budget for the next fiscal year. But for as far as the general fund budget is concerned, the county is merely in a holding pattern in funding, in terms of funding its county departmental operations, and in order to provide the same amount of funding availability, we are suggesting that the county will have to consider going to the rollback rate, which is an increase in the millage from 8.9 to 9.073 mills. That rollback rate, as I said, and I can't emphasize this enough, only generates the same amount of tax revenue in the coming fiscal year that is generated in the current fiscal year. And in order to achieve that minimal amount of increase in millage, the county still finds itself in a position of having to appropriate an unprecedented amount of its cash reserves. Fortunately, this year we are appropriating just a little less than $6 million. We, during the budgetary process, had looked at the necessity of appropriating a number in excess of that $6 million, but as we worked through as Mike worked through the final stages of balancing that budget, it ended up being just a little shade under $6 million. Now, frankly, that's still more than we're totally comfortable with, but you know, you do what you have to do, and we hope that as the fiscal year progresses, that we will not need to spend all of that, but that is what's necessary in order to achieve a balanced budget going into the October 1st, 2015 fiscal year. In terms of the fire service budget, we have heard, and you had a workshop with the volunteer fire departments, and you heard the plea for additional support from the county to provide greater resources for the volunteer fire departments, to provide additional equipment for them, and to help them to provide resources to put manpower on the ground so that you could augment their manpower and put people in place to respond to emergency situations on a more prompt basis. So the current fire tax is 0.7425 mils. We are suggesting that in this coming fiscal year, that a fire tax millage of 1.1 mils be considered. That would enable the county to increase its support for volunteer fire departments. You heard a presentation from Chief Romay where he indicated that all of the bunker gear used by all of the volunteer fire departments was scheduled to be replaced. That's a significant cost item. This increase in millage would allow for that to occur. It would also allow for the county to continue to replace some fire apparatus, which is an expensive item. It would also hopefully allow for some of the more other minor equipment that is aging and becoming in need of being replaced to be replaced, some of it, in the form of jaws of life and some of the other critical equipment that volunteer firemen use on a daily basis. It would also allow us to begin to move towards addressing the manpower need. There was a program presented whereby the county would consider and evaluate putting personnel in place in 3 strategic locations throughout the county to have personnel available 24/7, 365 days a year at 3 strategic locations to augment the volunteers in enabling the county to respond to calls when the need came forward for citizens in dialing 911. This millage rate falls, of course, far short of allowing us to address all of that need at one time, but it does allow us to begin to move towards that in addressing perhaps one station at a time. It won't allow that to occur overnight on October the 1st, but again, it allows us to begin that process during the fiscal year in addressing one of those strategic locations needs. And I can't give you a timetable right now as to when that might be accomplished, but I would suggest to you that it would be accomplished sometime during the first half of next fiscal year. We would be able to put at least one station in place. So those things would result from the increased funding to support the volunteer fire departments. The third fund that I would suggest that we would discuss with you just a little bit is the sanitation fund. The sanitation fund is balanced. It is balanced currently based on a solid waste assessment of $351, which is a reduction from the current $395, and that's in the unincorporated areas, with the exception of Palatka and Crescent City, where the assessment is lower because they pick up their own waste in those areas. Now, we are working towards hoping that we will be able to present yet a lower solid waste assessment number to the district, but at the July the 28th meeting, because we are negotiating, as you authorized us to do, with the second low bidder for the collection and recycling contract. So if we are successful in some degree of negotiation there, we may be able to bring back yet a lower recommended number than that $351 number. But for the purposes of presenting a tentative balanced budget to you today, that number is $351. Okay. So I wanted to just kind of address those 3 major funds and to assure you that the budget overall is balanced, even though the grand total budget is 14% less than currently. And Mike, I know you've got some comments that you'd like to make.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Leary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'll probably restrict my comments primarily to two funds, in particular the general fund, since that one seems to be generating the most concern. Before I begin, I have a comment I want to make about the budget process in general, more for the benefit of the public. I'm sure they don't understand the process that we go through and some of the steps that we have to take. There's two words that come to my mind that sort of describe what Putnam County's budget process has been for the last 8 years. Most everybody has either seen or heard of the movie Groundhog Day. This budget is very similar to that in that it's a repeat of almost a nightmarish event that keeps happening every year. And that event is that we do not have enough financial resources to fund the service demands that the public wants. I don't care how you shake it, there's not enough money. The general fund is experiencing that in the worst case scenario, which Mr. Leary talked about. And it's not because of mismanagement, it's not because of overspending, project overrides, money going in somebody's pocket, or any of the other nonsense that you, I'm sure, have heard being circulated. Our tax base has been deteriorating since 2008, and our tax revenue is 60% of the general fund's revenue source. You start messing with the tax base and you're hurting our general fund. General fund is almost half of our operating budget. So that means that most of our departments are financed from general fund revenue. In fiscal year 2007, our tax revenue was $36 million. Today, it's $28 million. If you recall back in 2007, I think it was, the brilliance of our state legislature in the Tax Reform Act that changed a number of things about our property tax structure. It almost brought Putnam County to its knees. I mean, that's $8 million that was stripped right out of our general fund. As Mr. Leary pointed out, we're having to appropriate almost $6 million of our cash reserves in order to just balance the budget. That's not paying for raises, doing anything out of the ordinary. It's just trying to get by and maintain that current level of services. $6 million. If the legislature had not taken that $8 million from us, what a beautiful process this budget would be. We wouldn't have to touch our cash reserves. And thank goodness, out of good prudent management and leadership of this county, we've been able to accumulate some money over the good years so that we have those resources to get us through these tough times. The problem is the economy hasn't helped us. Property values continue to be stagnant. I don't know how many more years we're going to be able to dip into these reserves to balance our budget. 2, maybe if we're really lucky, 3 years. At that point, if things haven't gotten better, I don't know what's going to be the necessary measure. Shutting down departments, closing some doors, drastically reducing services that we currently provide, not buying new ambulances, any number of things. Cutting a line item here and there is not going to help. Not when 20% of our budget is having to come from reserves. Kind of lost my chain of thought. Taking just a moment to talk about the solid waste fund. It's my opinion that as your budget officer and fiscal advisor, you're either in the solid waste business or you're not. There isn't any in between. And if you're going to be in the business, you're going to have to increase your volume of sales if you're going to achieve any level of economies of scale. It's not happening at the current level. Now, fortunately, last year you took the bull by the horns. You raised the solid waste assessment, and that was a very good thing that you did. We finally have some cash in the solid waste fund that is better than I've seen probably in my tenure with Putnam County. You've got enough money to do these improvements that Mr. Gast has requested in his budget without having to finance any of it. I mean, it's a pay-as-you-go basis budget. And that's even with an 11 or 12% decrease in the solid waste assessment. I personally, and I'm not patting myself on the back, I didn't have anything to do with putting that budget together, but it's a good budget. It's one that I think will work for Putnam County. I think it's going to go where I believe the citizens are saying they want to go. They said they didn't want to sell the solid waste facility. They want to operate it, and I don't know how else you're going to do that without increasing the business. The same thing, I know what the other point is I want to make about the tax base. This county needs growth desperately. Getting back to the tax issue, we are relying heavily on 5-6 major taxpayers. And the danger of that is, just to use FP&L as an example, they close one of their plants. Any of them have a hiccup, and it impacts our revenues. We're going to be faced with that until we have enough growth of additional taxpayers in the system to feed the revenue source to finance our operations. Any one of those 5-6 major entities can shut a plant anywhere in the county and affect us. It's not their fault. It's our fault for relying on just a few taxpayers to carry the burden. So, you know, this is my last budget year. Excuse me. Makes me a little emotional. I want to see Putnam County grow to achieve its objectives in every respect, financially, quality of life, and it's not going to achieve those things at the current level of operation. We need growth. I guess I've said enough, and I thank you for that opportunity. One last comment on the solid waste. It was suggested that we take some of the cash out of the solid waste fund and either use that to help the general fund or for some other purpose. Please don't do that. You've got the solid waste fund in a healthy financial situation right now to do the improvements that it needs to do, in doing so without having to do any debt financing. I'm afraid that if you siphon any cash out of that fund, you're going to end up down the road having to raise the solid waste assessment again, and I know you don't want to do that. So Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for your commentary, and the accuracy of your presentation causes all of us to have what I call a reality check. We know that we have an anemic tax base in this county. Our citizens bring to us very valid concerns, and they also bring to us issues that are near and dear to their heart, and their words are precise: make it happen. In order to make it happen, we've got to have the funds to do that, and that's why we have to have priorities set and maximize every taxpayer dollar that comes into Putnam County. And I want to make sure that I'm a part of that plan to do so. But when you talk about, again, who's really carrying the load, you know, the major corporations within our county, the businesses and things of that nature, everybody's going through some stressful times, and we have been. But if we keep doing what we thought was right and we know better now, then we will certainly come at a point in the crossroad that, like you say, we fall flat like a vehicle with 4 flat tires, and that's certainly not an option. So thank you, Mr. Anderson, and thank you, Mr. Leary, for shedding some additional light on how we need to move forward with the tentative budget. And we've had many workshops, budget committee meetings, and things of that nature. And we have stressed to every department head in this county, hold the line. Well, they've heard it for so long there until they know coming in the door they have to hold the line. But we thought there was a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, only to discover that this year is not the light. But we're going to maximize. We're not going to be pessimistic. We're going to be optimistic. And we're going to get through this next valley and get up to the mountaintop. Not Trash Mountain, but the mountaintop. Ms. Diane Williams.
Diane Williams, 109 Westlake Drive, Hawthorne. I just have a couple questions about the taxes. This past year now, you're going to have 5 taxes that you've raised in a year. You got your Better Place Plan money. You got the 6-cent gas tax. You have the fire tax that you're wanting to put on us now. You have the property tax, and you have the garbage tax.
You say we raised? The Better Place Plan was not
well, no,
raised.
the Better Place Plan passed, which, you know, we already know that.
Which was already in existence. So when you say raised, let's be
but still,
precise.
you're continuing it.
Okay.
So that's 5 taxes. How many more taxes are you going to raise? Because you're running people out of Putnam County. My daughter come out here. She was raised here from the age of 12. She left here, went to Mandarin. Her husband and her built a house out here at $180,000 on 5 acres. They're planning on probably selling it and moving to Texas because of the tax base. You know, it's getting crazy. You're stopping people from coming in here. You're running people out. And I don't know how you can keep doing this to the people of Putnam County. A lot of these things, a lot of your people that work in some of these departments, we could eliminate a lot of stuff here. Just like this road thing you just agreed on doing. You don't even know if it's going to work. So that's a pile of money that's just wasted if it doesn't work.
Okay,
you know?
Ms. Williams, let's make sure that when we have grant money and grant funds for a project, that we don't equate that as if we've got some money that we can shift it over to handle the general expenditures
well,
of the
forget
county.
that.
Well, no, let's not forget it. Let's make sure that when you do the comparisons, even when you bring the Better Place Plan into the equation, unfortunately, we did not really promote it year-round like we should have over the years so that the citizens would be able to visually see all of the benefits that were there. This commission struggles with every day trying to make sure that we're doing the very best we can to lead this county. We cannot apologize to you for being a rural county. That we are. That is not a statement of inferiority, as I said earlier. It's easy for you to stand before us and say what y'all are doing, y'all are doing, y'all are doing. We're paying taxes. Some of us are paying not only residential taxes, we're paying commercial taxes as well.
I understand that.
So it's not like there is a back door for us to go in and out of to keep us or to exempt us or make us an exception to the situation. It hurts us to have to even have this tough conversation. I think if we listen to the commentary that Mr. Anderson especially raised, this gentleman who is so passionate about his responsibilities there. And it is taken personal, and we should take it personal. Everything that you say, all of our citizens say, but oftentimes there are blank checks that are being presented or blank presentations as if there is mismanagement, as if we've got waste in all of these departments. Point out specific instances where you or any other citizen know that we can be more efficient in doing what we're doing, but just to throw it out there does create stress on us. Again, we want to make it happen. The economy of scale comes to the picture. We know that it costs more to live in a more urban area, in a more metro area. They have more services. We often compare with our neighbors, whether it's St. Johns County, whether it's Clay County, whether it's Marion County, Volusia County, and every other county that touch us. When it's all said and done, when you look at the value of one meal in Putnam County versus the value of one meal in all of these other counties, it would balance the understanding and the comprehension of what we're really up against. Truth of the whole matter is, when we look at the anemic tax base that we have, and also we are very mindful of the citizens who can't afford certain things. As a result of them not being able to afford certain things, many of them are not paying any taxes. So it does mean we're subsidizing, but we're not compromising the quality of life. It's a struggle. It's a struggle, and I believe in my heart it's a struggle for every legislative leader. All of our administrators throughout this county are there. So we're not on a shopping spree out saying, well, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do the other. We're trying to make the very best business decisions. Your input is welcomed. But please, ma'am, understand that when you come up and you say to us, you done raised 5 different taxes and you're doing this, it's almost as if we're on a tax, tax spree. That is not what's happening, Ms. Williams.
Sure seems like it to
Okay,
me,
well,
though.
your perception is not
Right.
reality.
Okay. I do want to give Mr. Smith here an attaboy. His office helped me with the problem I had. Very good. And Linda Meyer's office, her boy out in Interlochen office.
Yes, ma'am.
An
And those
attaboy also.
offices have to be funded too, right?
Right. But
Well, thank you. Let's recognize them again.
Yeah.
Amen. You're on point. Thank you. Continue, please.
I guess that's all I can say, but Mr. Flagg, I do have one thing to you.
Yes, ma'am.
You need to read your pledge down here again, because with Miss Roxanne Weeks, you're very rude to her.
Okay, thank
You
you
need
again.
to read your
Thank you for your opinion, Ms. Williams. Ms. Roxanne had proper time to speak to this commission, and she can keep coming, and she will be able to be heard each time. But when you're not on the agenda and you have a limit, then that limit will be honored, and it is fair and impartial. So thank you for your comments.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Harris.
I wanted to comment on Mr. Anderson's comments to us. And I think, there's lots of things that we do, but you've got to stop and look at the big picture.
Correct.
And he said it very well. We rely on the 4 or 5 big industries in Putnam County, and we need to grow that. We need to bring business in. The kind of growth we need is people who will give jobs. And we can't do that. The way that you do that is to build up your infrastructure and putting in the water and sewer in East Palatka, improving our roads, making the improvements that make Putnam County the kind of place that we want to live in, will also make industry want to come here and have those jobs. That's our goal, and that's what we need to do. In order to do that, we need things like the Better Place Plan and the tax money that we have. And we've got to stand tall, and we've got to look good, and we've got to keep our eye focused on what's going to save us in the long run, and that is building our economy and bringing in businesses. So I just want to say, everything, when you start breaking it up, it looks like we're doing this, this, and this, but we need good fire protection, or we're not going to bring in businesses. We're not going to be safe ourselves. And we're so fortunate to have people who volunteer to run that department, or we couldn't function. So we're talking about such a little bit just to provide them with the clothing, protective clothing that they need, and the vehicles and the equipment that they need to work with. So I'm just saying, everything is small, but it all builds to what we need to do and keep our eye on what our goal must be. And I just wanted to be sure that I reiterated what Mr. Anderson said. I think that was a point well put.
Thank you. Mr. Lyra.
I just want to thank Mr. Anderson for all the years you did, especially through this recession, that you did provide great service. It's been way longer than it should have been, but we're still very much dealing with the recession in its full force in the rural county. But I watched the NEFAR numbers, the Northeast Florida Realtors Association. Did you get that? They just had a banner month. Beat all records and numbers that were all through the recession, and that did include Putnam County. We did look better. We weren't St. John's or Flagler or Duval or any of the others, but things are looking up, and what's going to get us through is that diversity and the mix of industry and new housing. Our housing stock's very old, but I said it to Mr. Anderson this morning before the meeting. I think we're 1,000 homes, brand new homes, away from prosperity or some ease into the general fund, and hopefully that'll happen for us. They're building out on the coast at record pace, so sooner or later they're going to come over. And
we got to be next in line.
Yeah, we got to be next in line. And, I just have to be positive about it. It's all I've seen is declining budgets from almost the day I was elected. So I don't know much more, but that man right there has kept us in black ink, and I appreciate it. And I wish you well in your retirement coming up, and I want to give him a round of applause if it's all right, Mr. Chairman. A lot of integrity, and for you all that don't know, if you get sick, Mike is also a doctor. He can help you. He's a very smart man.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyra. Commissioner Pelletier.
So many things to try to cover here very briefly. Through no fault of our own, FPL leaving East Palatka over there, and at the timely manner at which they closed down one plant and opened another, I think I heard someone say they were being taxed at $100 million to $0 to next year. They should be at the $70 million mark. So we just fell into a gap, and that's I guess that's good business on Florida Power.
That'll improve next year. That's right.
And we just got to endure this. Someone said something about cutting services or cutting jobs, this, that, and other. I've heard since I've been here that somewhere a little over 40 jobs. No one was fired, but just through attrition. We've tightened our belt, and people have now do somebody else's job. So if that's not doing what's right and trying to conserve and save, I don't know what is. And a little bit about the fire tax issue. Our people have got to be protected and kept safe while they're doing their jobs. And we don't require that those suits are changed every 10 years. The state of Florida or those agencies that grade that equipment say that it has to be done every 10 years. So, if your house is burning and your loved one is in there and our volunteer personnel gets there and says, I'm not going in there with this 12, 15-year-old suit, then who are you going to be mad at?
I'm going to be suing.
Yeah, who are you going to be fed up with? So I've said it so many times before, everything I've ever loved in this life, my home, my children, anything that I can think of I ever loved, I had to put a little money in to keep and take care of. And that's the way I feel about it.
Thank you, Mr. Pelletier. Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Anderson.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to probably miss you the most because I enjoy our conversations on finances. You've been a big help to me since I've been here. And we haven't always agreed. And didn't agree yesterday a little bit, but we'll continue on. I like finances, as you well know. I do think, though, that we are at a spot where we're going to have to look at the tipping point of how much more our citizens can do versus what are we going to do about growth. And I think I think both of those kind of go together. Do we like raising taxes? I don't like it one bit. I don't like it at all. Do we like to provide fire services? Yes, we do. Do we have a better plan maybe in the future to provide fire service? Yes, I will say we do. I like a flatter tax. I like a more equitable base, if you will. And we'll look at that next year. But for this year, we've got a hard pill to swallow. And that's what we're elected to do, is to swallow that pill. And for now, we're going to have to swallow it, move forward, make the best of Putnam County. This commission is dedicated to jobs. We have some structures in place now to look at our economic development. We've had it in the past, but we're really emphasizing it now. And if we can be successful in this new grant application that we've applied for, it might help take us out of some of this area. But we're going to have to work our way out. That's the only way I know how to do it. And we can't sell our way out. We got to work our way out. But Mr. Anderson, before you ride off into the sunset, I would beg you to stay a little longer, but I know you don't want to. But I do want to say publicly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you've done for me and this board in the past years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, everything that is absolutely possible to deal with that tax base, I wish I had a magic wand. I would wave it and there would be hundreds of jobs in our county tomorrow. That is not the case. Contrary to what others think, and it's easy to judge the game from the stands. We are working with all concerned. We're not just going over to the chamber there, and every one of us network through the Florida Association of Counties. We network through the Small County Coalition. We work directly with the governor's office, with our legislators there, and we're making connections regionally to do all we can to make it happen. People who have contacts that we don't have, we have an open door, open mind, to welcome those there. Mr. Tim Hotelling, you had a suggestion. If you'll come up and put it on record, please.
Tim Hotelling, San Mateo. First, I like y'all. Y'all doing a really good job, or trying your very best. The questions I ask are just, in my mind, to help you appreciate and do all of that.
Thank you for your stimulus.
I try to be civil. The comments from Mr. Anderson had a flashback to me of a recent press release where our Governor Scott went around the entire state having a victory parade, hoorah, hoorah, because he dropped the cost of my getting a driver's license or license plates by $5 or some such thing. The emotion that I see out of you all and daily practically, and Mr. Anderson belies how easy and how great everything is. I'd like to see you consider a resolution bringing to Governor Scott's attention how wonderful it would be to be able to make a budget if we had $8 million more to spend, as Mr. Anderson suggested, so that at least our governor has some attention on the other end of the ball.
Thank you, Mr. Hotelling, for your comments. On one occasion when I was greeting our governor and just in conversation with him, he was bragging and boasting about what was happening in Palm Beach County. And so I leaned over to him and shook his hand and said, our county starts with a P also there, and not to forget Putnam County. And again, when you talk about raising the standard in the state of Florida, you don't raise it from the top, you raise it from the bottom. And that is the message that we're certainly trying to get over to all concerned. And we feel the stresses of our citizens every single day. We inhale it and exhale it every day. But we're optimistic. We're going to remain optimistic. Yes, again, the times are very tenacious, but we are overcomers, and that will continue to be the case. Mr. Lytle.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion to accept the tentative budget and set the proposed millage rates, sir.
Okay, I think today all we're doing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just the overview. Once we set the times, then we will be dealing with that.
Right.
Is that correct?
Tentative is the key word.
All right, so, but that's the next issue here, setting the proposed millage and the date and time and place there. Is that right, Mr. Leary?
Anybody want to offer
Well,
that one?
yeah, I mean, Commissioner Liebel's motion is appropriate because that, you know, the property appraiser needs to do that, needs
Right.
that information in order to get trim notices.
But on the agenda item, we should be setting date, time, place, and everything that he's saying. So
That's a
just-
separate
Well, that's another motion.
Okay, all right, so we have a proper motion to accept the
Okay,
tentative
I
budget and
second.
set proposed millage rates. Motion and a second. Further discussion. District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 3, yes. Thank you, Commissioner Lible. Okay, by motion, we set the date, time, and place for the tentative budget hearing Tuesday, September the 8th, 2015 at 5:05 p.m. in this boardroom. Set the date, time, and place for the final budget hearing and adoption of the final budget and millage rate on Tuesday, September 22nd, 2015 at 5:05 p.m. in this boardroom. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we set the dates as read.
We have a
Second.
proper motion and a second. Further discussion. Yes, ma'am. Tuesday, September the 8th, and Tuesday, September the 22nd, and both are 5:05 p.m. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Chairman. Just said thank you.
Okay, Mr. Leary?
Nothing further other than an appointment if Commissioner Lible is prepared to make it.
You have any appointments today, sir?
I have none, sir, at this time.
Okay. All right. Mr. Russ Castleberry,
Nothing to report, sir.
the Honorable Tim Smith, Clerk of the Court.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you had the discussion about Mike Anderson, I just want all of you to know that Mike got his training as a finance director for the county before he became budget director. And if you'll remember back, Don Bailey was here, and when he retired, you were fortunate enough to be able to hire him away from me.
Oh, man.
I still remember. And so John Jones, I want you to see, he sits right here.
All right.
So when you start looking, you look somewhere else. Okay?
Let Mr.
Leave
Jones
John
speak for
alone.
himself.
John does a great job for us, but I did want to, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, just take just a second to also extend my congratulations and thanks to Mike. He's a dear friend of mine. I've learned so much by having an association with him as part of my job as your county comptroller. We rely on him a lot to also do our part of the job, and that's really is kind of the watchdog of all the expenses that the county has, and so we're very thankful that we've had that relationship. And I know he and Mike are good friends. He and John are good friends, excuse me. And that relationship allows us to do our job, you know, in a very civil and professional manner. That we know we can toss ideas around, think about them, discuss them, and come up with you know, the right answers and solutions. So I'm very thankful for his friendship. But I also want to mention that if you remember, there was a news article in the paper last week about Veritas Steel hiring 20 people. They had having a job fair tomorrow, I believe, to hire 20 people, and then hopefully by the end of the year to be able to hire an additional 40 people. Right. And that's how this county is going to succeed. And it's probably not going to be bringing a large manufacturing plant here. It's going to be supporting our existing industry. And I know there was a lot of people involved. I also serve as chair of the Development Authority that for months worked with Veritas to help put pieces in place along with Mr. Leary and resolutions by this council to allow them to be in that spot. So because of the I-4 expansion work that's going to take almost 12 years to complete in the Orlando area, they're looking here for those components to make those overpasses and bridges. And so I think we can say, for one instance, we're getting work from somewhere else coming here. And so that's how we have to continue to do that. And so if anybody's concerned about this, what they should do is send a letter of thank you to Veritas for staying in our community, expanding in our community, and providing those jobs. And if we express those thanks to those people that are here working hard, they're going to be more likely to say this is a great community, they support us, they'll continue to have those jobs. And so I just wanted to offer those comments, and thank you for allowing me just a few minutes to do that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
And thank you very kindly. Commissioner Harris, any closing comments?
There was an article in the Palatka Daily News last week that mentioned that the county did not ask for things in the budget. And I don't know where the information came from that we did not, but we certainly did in many different avenues. And I don't want anyone to think that we're sitting here and that we don't have communication and we're not out there in all different ways trying to bring things into Putnam County. And one of the things that fell was we were going to do a study on transportation to see what happened when they privatized the part of the Medicare bill that took away support for our transportation disadvantaged. And the study was on the docket to be done and was vetoed by the governor. And we had lots of things that many of us have worked on. And I didn't want the people to think that we have not been reaching out to Tallahassee in many ways to get a lot of things done. It probably wasn't on that list wherever he looked, but
don't we have boots on the ground in Tallahassee?
we have boots on the ground in Tallahassee and Washington.
Exactly. And we're seeing some results.
Yeah. We made that bold step. We hired a consulting firm, and it survived the veto acts. And we've got money coming not only this year, but the next year also, and that will continue. It was good. Mr. Chairman, the only thing I'd like to share is with a great committee and hard work, we got the Putnam County Animal Adoption Center open in this facility last Saturday, and Friday and Saturday, and we did 6 dogs and 1 cat, and the animal control people came and helped, and we worked all weekend, and I just couldn't believe the outpouring. We have new volunteers that are on board now, and it was a complete success, and we look forward to continuing that. And I think that we have a team emerging now between animal control and the adoption center, and I think those numbers are going to just get better and better. And I'm real proud of the people I worked with. Thank you. It was very good, and I thank all of you for your support and letting me do that.
Certainly, you have been a great facilitator with that committee. I went by on Saturday, very impressive, and really just to express gratitude on behalf of the board to the staff that was
I couldn't
there.
have done it without y'all and staff, Mr. Leary.
It's certainly a team effort there, and we're moving in the right direction, not at the speed of light, but we are moving progressively, and that's wonderful. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Mr. Pelletier, you have anything else, sir?
A couple things. Talking about us not pursuing or trying to get help. We have received funds, I'll be a little more direct about it, for the design and engineering of extending fresh and wastewater down East River Road. That was something that survived the veto process that we asked about getting. This makes it shovel ready, and the next step in that process is to ask for the money to turn some dirt and put some pipe in the ground. And that certainly, if they funded one, it'd be crazy for them not to fund the second step. We've got the funding for the word escapes me, Mr. Leary.
Design and permitting for Dog Branch Canal.
Design and permitting for Dog Branch Canal cleaning to assist those farmers in the East Black area of drainage for their crops. So we are getting outside the box. I hate for people to talk about things that sometimes they may not be just quite well informed about. Some of those things that we're going after, if everybody knew what we were doing or up to, some of those big counties might be beating us to the punch. So sometimes it's better to slip around the back door and get what you want.
Whisper.
Last week I went out and toured the construction of the new jail. Was very impressed with that facility. Just far and again exceeds what we have out there, and the safety that it's going to provide for the correctional officers and the inmates is, I think, going to be phenomenal. I'm sure we're going to have a big open house out there, and everybody will see what's going on with it. They tell me it's 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Granted, we could have a run of bad weather, and that could all go away, but as we stand right now, we're 3 weeks ahead of schedule. They're thinking, as it stands, if everything proceeds along, that in December we'd have a walkthrough, and in January they would hand us the keys to that place. Very excited about that. Something we've needed for a long, long time here to better house and take care of those folks that have chosen that way of life. But we hope to change their mind about wanting to be there. Nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pelletier. Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say thank you to our county commissioners. Everybody showed up for July 4th in West Putnam and Interlaken, and we had a great time out there. It's a big process to go through, and I tell you what, it was just a marvelous day celebrating Independence Day, and the constitutional officers came. Interlaken, if you haven't ever been there for July 4th, you need to come out. It's just one of those small town, good feeling, free environments, safe for kids, and we had just a wonderful time. I do want to say this coming Saturday in Johnson, there's a homecoming parade at 4 o'clock. So if you feel entitled to come out again with your constitutional officers and your individual cars, then we'll meet out there at the Dollar General store there at 20 and Johnson Crossroad, right? Johnson, and be part of their homecoming festival. But they've invited us, and I'm going. So if y'all want to go, just let me know. But we do appreciate it, and anything that can bring things to our county, positive, promoting things, we need to be about doing. And I tell you, I've gained a lot of respect up here because every one of us work very hard to make this county better for the citizens of Putnam County. And it is sometimes very difficult to weigh the balance, but I can tell you one thing, there isn't a day go by that I don't believe we 5 commissioners and our staff and constitutional officers don't wake up wanting to do a better job, and we all do. But I want to say thank you to my fellow commissioners today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Mr. Pelletier, you're going to make mention about the St. Johns River Center?
Oh, Dan?
Yes, sir.
I got it. Everyone starting 1:30, they will have
6 minutes ago.
1:30.
11.
I'm sorry.
They will have the grand opening of the new Georgia-Pacific St. Johns River Center down at the foot of the bridge. I think it's a great thing for show the investment that GP is putting back into our community and support of us. And we certainly support them. They're a very key partner in the life of our county, and we would really be at a loss without those folks. But it's a beautiful place from what I've seen, the pictures in the paper, and from the outside, I'm looking forward to getting inside.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner. In closing, also, there are about 30 to 35 jobs that are being created at the new state-of-the-art assisted living facility on South Moody Road. They should be opening near the end of September. There, it was formerly known or well known, not as respected as the Arlington House, but the Patel family, owners of the Quality Inn, are really going through and making that a state-of-the-art facility, and we're looking very forward to that. They have pretty much started taking, I guess you could say, reservations or applications for individuals who want to connect with them, and they're going to provide a level of assisted living that our county has not seen according to the information that's being distributed. So let's celebrate the small victories that lead to a total victory, and that's really what it's about in our county. Thank you again, Mr. Leary. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, and to all concerned, have a blessed Putnam County day. And entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Walton, let me see that thing.
We are supposed to be here at 11:30.
Is there another one?